Have you ever thought a bowl of leftover spinach soup could hurt you more than help you? It all started with my neighbor, Susan. She was in her early 60s, vibrant, active, and always promoting healthy eating. Her refrigerator was packed with greens, berries, and whole grains. One thing she loved most was her homemade spinach soup. Every Sunday, she'd make a big batch to last through the week, Monday through Thursday. She'd scoop out a bowl, heat it in the microwave, and enjoy it over lunch while reading health blogs. But one Thursday afternoon, she called me in a panic. "Why do I feel dizzy and nauseous every time I eat that soup?" she asked. At first, I thought maybe it had gone bad, but she insisted it smelled fine and tasted okay too. That's when I did a little digging. Turns out, spinach, when reheated, can quietly turn from a superfood into a silent threat. Here's why. Spinach is loaded with nitrates, which are good for circulation and heart health when eaten fresh. But when cooked, stored, and then reheated, especially in a microwave, those nitrates convert into nitrites, and then into nitrosamines. These are compounds linked to cancer, especially in the digestive tract, and possibly to cognitive decline over time. Susan was shocked. She thought she was doing everything right, eating clean, making healthy meals in advance. But this one routine was potentially undermining her efforts, and she wasn't alone. Many people over 50 trying to eat healthy end up reheating spinach in soups, omelets, stir-fries, thinking it's a smart move. But if your body is aging, if your immune system is slowing, and if your detox systems aren't as sharp as they used to be, those nitrosamines hit harder. You may not feel it right away, but little by little, the risk builds. So I told Susan, if you're going to eat spinach, eat it fresh, or if you've already cooked it, enjoy it cold like in a salad or wrap. Avoid reheating it in the microwave. And if you must reheat, do it gently on the stovetop, and don't store it for too long. Sometimes, the foods we trust the most hide the greatest risks, not because they're bad, but because we don't know the science behind how we treat them. Potatoes, the ultimate comfort food. Right mashed, baked, roasted, every American family has their favorite potato dish. But what if I told you those leftover mashed potatoes sitting in your fridge could be doing more harm than good when you reheat them? Let me take you back to my friend Bill. He's a retired firefighter in his 60s, lives alone, and cooks in big batches like many seniors I know. One night, he made his famous garlic mashed potatoes, creamy, buttery, with a touch of rosemary. He had enough for the whole week. Every night, he'd reheat a portion in the microwave, toss on a bit of gravy, and call it dinner. But by midweek, Bill started feeling off, a little nauseous, fatigued, even dizzy. He thought maybe it was the flu, but after some digging and a few doctor visits, he learned something surprising. Those reheated potatoes may have been the culprit. Here's why. When potatoes are cooked, then left to cool slowly, especially when wrapped in foil or left at room temperature, harmful bacteria like Clostridium botulinum can begin to grow. This bacteria produces toxins that are tasteless, invisible, and incredibly dangerous, even in small amounts. And guess what? Reheating doesn't always kill them. The real danger lies in how we store and reheat them. The common habit of wrapping baked potatoes in foil and then reheating them in the microwave can create the perfect storm: low oxygen, moist environment, and uneven reheating. For people like Bill, and honestly, most people over 60, Your immune system doesn't fight off these toxins like it used to. A small dose that might not have phased you at 30 could knock you flat in your 60s or beyond. The fix. If you cook potatoes, eat them fresh. If you must store them, cool them quickly within an hour without foil, and seal them in an airtight glass container in the fridge. When it's time to reheat, use the stovetop or oven to ensure even heating, and never reheat them more than once. Bill made the switch. Now he enjoys cold potato salads, or makes just enough mashed potatoes for 1 or 2 meals. And he hasn't felt that strange post-meal nausea since. Your body changes with age, and so should the way you handle your food. Eggs. They're a breakfast staple in almost every American household. Scrambled, hard-boiled, sunny-side-up eggs have fueled our mornings for generations. But here's the thing. Most people don't know reheating eggs, especially if you're over 60, could be silently working against your health. Let me introduce you to Elaine. She's 68, a retired teacher from Arizona. Every Sunday, she would hard-boil a dozen eggs to last the week. Quick protein, easy to pack, no fuss. She'd grab one, pop it in the microwave for 15 seconds, and go about her day. But after a few months, she started noticing something odd: stomach discomfort, a strange aftertaste, and occasional brain fog. She brushed it off as age-related until a nutritionist gave her a wake-up call. The truth is, when you reheat cooked eggs, especially in the microwave, you're not just warming them up. You're transforming their structure. See, eggs are rich in cholesterol and sulfur compounds. These are good in their natural state, but once reheated, especially at high temperatures, the cholesterol oxidizes and sulfur compounds break down. This process releases oxysterols, which research has linked to increased inflammation and a greater risk of cardiovascular disease. Now, why does this matter more for someone like Elaine, or maybe someone like you? As we age, our bodies process fats differently. Our arteries become less flexible, and our ability to clear out inflammation weakens. Those oxidized compounds sneak into our system and quietly add stress to the heart, brain, and immune system. It doesn't happen overnight, but over months and years, it builds. Elaine changed her routine. Now, she eats her hard-boiled eggs cold, sliced into salads, or on whole grain toast. And when she scrambles eggs, she eats them fresh. No reheating. Just a simple change. But she says her digestion improved, and the fog she thought was just part of aging, it's fading. So if you're in the habit of reheating eggs, it might be time to rethink it. Either enjoy them fresh or cold, or use gentle heat like a low stovetop setting. Never blast them in the microwave. It's a tiny shift in routine, but for your heart, your brain, and your long-term vitality, it's a smart one. Your morning routine might just be the first place to start protecting your future. Chicken lean, protein-packed, and beloved across the country. Whether it's grilled breasts, roasted thighs, or shredded in soups, chicken feels like one of the healthiest choices you can make. But here's the kicker. If you're reheating that chicken, especially in the microwave, you might be creating more harm than good. And that harm, it could be slowly affecting your gut, your joints, and even your brain. Let me take you to a quiet suburb in Pennsylvania, where Jack, a 72-year-old widower, lives alone. Jack is practical. He batch cooks his meals every Sunday, a tray of seasoned baked chicken, enough to last the week. By Wednesday, he'd pop a piece into the microwave, pour himself a cup of coffee, and call it dinner. It felt efficient and healthy, until his doctor started asking some tough questions. Jack had been struggling with bloating, stiffness in his joints, and a creeping fatigue he couldn't shake. Tests showed low-grade inflammation running through his system, but no clear diagnosis. That's when a dietitian pointed out something surprising. The way he was reheating his chicken could be part of the problem. See, when chicken is first cooked, the heat denatures the proteins, making them easier to digest. But when you reheat it, especially using high heat, like in a microwave or hot oven, those proteins transform again, becoming tougher, less digestible, and in some cases, forming compounds called AGs, advanced glycation end products. These AGs are nasty. They're like little sparks that fuel chronic inflammation throughout your body. And chronic inflammation is no small matter. It's been linked to everything from heart disease to insulin resistance to Alzheimer's. The issue is even worse for older adults. As we age, our stomach acid and digestive enzymes decrease. That means tougher proteins like reheated chicken can lead to bloating, indigestion, and even immune stress. The inflammation doesn't just stay in the gut, it travels, influencing the brain, joints, and cardiovascular system. So, what did Jack do? He made a simple switch, smaller portions cooked fresh. And when he did store leftovers, he used the stovetop at low heat to rewarm them. He also started tossing cold chicken into salads or wraps rather than reheating at all. Within a few weeks, he felt the difference: lighter digestion, less stiffness, and clearer thinking. The takeaway here is simple. Chicken is healthy, but how you handle it after cooking matters just as much as what kind you buy. That microwave might be convenient, but it's not always kind to your health. Be smart, warm gently, or better yet, go fresh. Your body is already doing the hard work of aging. Don't make it battle a plate of reheated protein, too. Mushrooms, earthy, delicious, and full of nutrients. From creamy risottos to hearty omelets, they're a culinary favorite. But here's something most people never think about when you reheat mushrooms, especially in the microwave. You may be turning that health-packed dish into a recipe for digestive trouble and oxidative stress. Let's rewind a bit to meet Evelyn, a retired biology teacher living in Oregon. At 67, Evelyn prides herself on maintaining a healthy, plant-based diet. One of her weekly rituals: cooking a big batch of mushroom and barley soup on Sunday. She'd reheat it throughout the week for lunch. It was easy, tasty, and filled with all the nutrients she thought her body needed, until, slowly, she started feeling off. She experienced random bloating, fatigue after meals, and this foggy heaviness in her head that wouldn't go away. Doctors ran tests. Everything seemed normal. But then her grandson, a med student, brought something to her attention. Could it be the mushrooms? You see, mushrooms are unlike most vegetables. They're rich in complex proteins, enzymes, and delicate fats. When cooked the first time, these elements break down just enough to release flavor and nutrients. But when reheated, especially using high heat or multiple times, their structure changes in ways that can lead to digestive upset, and something even more dangerous: oxidative stress. Oxidative stress occurs when free radicals overwhelm your body's defense systems, leading to cellular damage. Reheated mushrooms, especially if they've been stored in airtight plastic containers or improperly cooled, can contribute to this problem. The oxidation of their proteins and fats becomes a silent stressor, weakening your immune system, dulling your energy, and even increasing the risk of chronic inflammation or neurodegenerative diseases. And for older adults like Evelyn, these effects hit harder. The gut slows down, antioxidant production decreases. So, even a seemingly innocent lunch like reheated mushroom soup can quietly wear the body down. The texture gives it away. If your mushrooms turn rubbery, slimy, or have lost their savory bite, it's a red flag. The dish might still taste okay, but your body feels the difference long after the meal is done. Evelyn made a shift. Instead of batch cooking with mushrooms, she began adding fresh sautéed mushrooms just before serving. Or she'd enjoy them cold in salads with a splash of vinaigrette. She also ditched plastic containers for glass and avoided reheating mushrooms entirely. Within weeks, her digestion improved, the fatigue lifted, and the fog that had lingered like a cloud finally began to clear. So, what's the takeaway? Mushrooms are powerful allies when handled right, but when stored poorly and reheated carelessly, they can become silent saboteurs of your vitality. Give your body what it deserves, food that nourishes, not burdens. Be intentional with what you eat and how you prepare it. Let's talk about something that seems completely harmless, but might be a hidden danger in your fridge right now: eggs. Scrambled, hard-boiled. Sunny-side-up eggs are a staple in nearly every kitchen across America. They're packed with high-quality protein, loaded with essential nutrients like choline for brain health. And let's be honest, nothing beats a perfectly cooked egg for breakfast. But here's the twist: reheating cooked eggs, especially in the microwave or using high heat, can change their composition in ways that might quietly hurt your health, especially if you're over 60. Let me introduce you to Bob, a 72-year-old Navy veteran from Tampa, Florida. Bob's routine was classic every Sunday. He boiled a dozen eggs, stored them in the fridge, and microwaved one each morning to eat on the go. It seemed efficient and healthy until he started noticing some strange symptoms: brain fog, a tightness in his chest, occasional nausea. His doctor couldn't find anything wrong. It wasn't until a nutritionist asked about his food prep habits that the culprit was revealed. See, when eggs are first cooked, the proteins naturally denature, meaning they unfold and become easier to digest. That's a good thing. But when you reheat them, especially unevenly or at high temps, two dangerous things can happen. The sulfur compounds in the egg whites break down, which gives eggs that rotten smell and rubbery texture. That's not just gross, it's a signal that the proteins are degrading. Cholesterol oxidation begins. The cholesterol in the yolk transforms into compounds called oxysterols, which medical studies link to chronic inflammation and an increased risk of heart disease and cognitive decline. Now, Bob was stunned. How could one little egg cause that much trouble? But think about it. It wasn't just one egg. It was dozens, months, years of repeating this routine. Over time, those oxidized compounds accumulate, silently raising the risk of Alzheimer's, heart issues, and low energy. The issue is even more serious for seniors. As we age, our arteries stiffen, and our bodies lose efficiency in processing fats. That means the consequences of these dietary missteps hit harder, faster, and more often. So, what did Bob do? He didn't ditch eggs, far from it. Instead, he started eating them cold after boiling, tossing them into salads or enjoying them sliced on whole grain toast. If he did reheat, he used low heat on the stovetop, ensuring the temperature stayed even and the proteins weren't scorched. And most importantly, He only cooked enough for 2 to 3 days, not a full week. The result? Clearer thinking, more energy, and, as Bob joked, my breakfast doesn't fight back anymore. Remember, it's not about giving up the foods you love. It's about how you treat them. Eggs are still one of the best superfoods available. Just don't turn them into a silent threat. Be kind to your body. It's been through a lot, and it deserves better than a rubbery, overcooked egg. Let's move on to something most of us have in our fridge right now. Leftover chicken. It's lean, it's high in protein, and it's the centerpiece of countless healthy meal prep routines. But just like with eggs, there's a hidden side to chicken that very few people talk about, especially when it comes to reheating. I want to tell you about Janet, a 7-year-old grandmother from Austin, Texas. Janet was a self-declared meal prep queen. Every Sunday, she'd roast a batch of chicken breasts and freeze them in containers for the week. On busy weekdays, she'd simply microwave them and serve with a side of veggies. She thought she was doing everything right, but after several months, she began feeling constantly bloated, sluggish, and even emotionally drained. Her doctor couldn't find anything immediately wrong, no food allergies, no digestive diseases. But when a friend suggested she try eating fresher, Janet started digging. And what she learned shocked her. When you reheat chicken, especially using high heat or uneven heat, like in a microwave, the proteins in the meat change again. The first cooking denatures them in a good way. It makes them digestible. But a second round of heat can recoagulate those proteins, making them tougher, rubbery, and far harder for your body to break down. It's not just a texture problem, it's a digestion problem. And that's just the start. Reheated chicken, especially when cooked in bulk and left to sit in the fridge or freezer too long, can develop compounds known as AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These nasty little molecules form when proteins and fats are exposed to high heat repeatedly. They've been linked to systemic inflammation, which plays a key role in diseases like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, joint pain and arthritis. Janet's fatigue, her aching joints, her brain fog, all could be traced back to that sneaky inflammation caused by her reheated, healthy chicken. The body's response to chronic, low-grade inflammation is subtle at first. A little tiredness here, a little memory lapse there. But over months or years, it adds up, especially in older adults, whose immune systems are already more fragile and less efficient. So what did Janet do? She started cooking smaller portions, just enough for 2 days max. When she had leftovers, she got creative cold chicken salad, wraps, or shredded over greens with vinaigrette. If she absolutely had to reheat, she used the stovetop on low, never the microwave, and always added a splash of broth to keep the meat moist and minimize heat damage. Her results, I feel lighter, she said, not just in my stomach, but in my mind. Janet's story isn't rare. So many of us believe reheating chicken is harmless, but for older bodies, it can be the difference between feeling vibrant and feeling foggy. Take this as a sign. Don't let a microwave shortcut sabotage your health. Your energy, your memory, your comfort, it's all worth protecting. Now, let's talk about something that often surprises people: mushrooms. Earthy, savory, and loaded with nutrients. Mushrooms are a favorite in stir-fries, soups, and salads. But what if I told you that reheating mushrooms could actually be more harmful than helpful? Let me introduce you to Bruce. a 63-year-old retired firefighter from Denver. Bruce loved to cook. One of his signature dishes was a hearty mushroom and barley soup that he'd make every Sunday night. He'd portion it into containers, pop them in the fridge, and reheat a bowl each evening. Sound familiar? For a while, Bruce thought his nighttime bloating and gas were just part of getting older. Maybe lactose intolerance, or just a sluggish metabolism. But something didn't sit right, especially the next day, when he'd wake up foggy-headed and low on energy. A conversation with his daughter, who happened to be studying nutrition, sparked a realization. She told him, "Dad, it might be the mushrooms." Here's why mushrooms are a bit unique in the veggie world. Unlike leafy greens or root vegetables, they contain a mix of complex proteins, enzymes, and delicate fats when freshly cooked. These nutrients are released in ways that benefit your body, like supporting immune function, delivering B vitamins, and fighting inflammation with powerful antioxidants. But reheating mushrooms, especially in a microwave or at high temperatures, breaks down their structure even further, forming compounds that your body struggles to digest. This leads to a host of issues: digestive discomfort, bloating, gas, and that heavy post-meal feeling, oxidative stress. Reheating damages the fats in mushrooms, which can generate oxidized compounds that stress your cells. Increased inflammation, especially in older adults, whose systems are already more vulnerable. It turns out Bruce's digestive symptoms weren't just aging. They were the result of repeated chemical breakdowns happening right in his microwave. Even worse, poorly stored mushrooms, say, in a plastic container where moisture builds, can promote spoilage and bacterial growth, increasing the risk of foodborne illness if reheated improperly. So what did Bruce do? He switched gears. He started using leftover mushrooms, cold slicing them into wraps, adding them to salads with a bit of vinaigrette, or even eating them as a cold side dish. If he really needed to reheat, he'd do it slowly on the stove at low heat, never in the microwave. And he cut his batch size in half to avoid leftovers in the first place. Within a week, his stomach calmed down, his energy improved, and that morning, brain fog gone. The truth is, mushrooms are fragile. They need a little more care than we give them credit for. So if you're someone who loves meal prepping mushroom-based meals, just remember fresh is best. And reheating might be doing more harm than you think. Sometimes, protecting your health is about the little details, and mushrooms. They're one detail that deserves your full attention. Let's round out this eye-opening list with the last, but by no means least, item: reheated rice. You might be thinking, wait, rice, that innocent little side dish that pairs with everything. Yep, turns out it might be one of the sneakiest health risks hiding in your fridge. Let me tell you about Linda, a 67-year-old retired school teacher living in North Carolina. Every weekend, she made a big pot of brown rice, healthy, whole grain, perfect for the week. She'd reheat it for lunch with veggies or add it to dinner stir-fries. She thought she was making a smart, economical choice. But that choice led to several months of stomach cramps, fatigue, and even mild fevers. Her doctor couldn't quite pinpoint it until one day. Her grandson, a college student studying microbiology, asked a simple question: "Grandma, how are you storing and reheating your rice?" That was the moment things changed. See, rice, especially cooked rice, can harbor a type of bacteria called Bacillus cereus. It's commonly found in soil and can linger on uncooked grains. When rice is cooked and then left out too long, say, at room temperature for more than an hour, it creates the perfect environment for those bacteria to multiply. The kicker: Bacillus cereus doesn't always change the taste or smell of the rice. So when you reheat it, even if it tastes fine, the toxins may already be there, and they're heat resistant. According to the FDA, these toxins can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain, especially dangerous for seniors who may already have more fragile digestive systems or underlying health conditions. In Linda's case, she was storing her rice in a plastic bowl with a loose-fitting lid and reheating it quickly in the microwave, sometimes 2 or even 3 times. That habit was quietly harming her body every single week. So, what can you do to avoid this? Here are Linda's new golden rules, which might be wise for you, too. Cool rice quickly after cooking. Spread it on a plate or tray to speed up the process. Store it in airtight containers in the refrigerator within 1 hour. Eat leftovers within 1 day. Max 2. Never reheat rice more than once. Each cycle increases the risk. And if in doubt, toss it out. Linda now cooks smaller batches, enjoys her rice fresh, and adds variety to her meals so she's not eating the same thing all week. More importantly, she hasn't had another upset stomach in months. So many of us try to do the right thing cooking healthy meals, avoiding waste. But the truth is, how we store and reheat our food matters just as much as what we eat. It's these hidden habits, like reheating rice, that slowly chip away at our energy, gut health, and immune function, especially as we age. If you take anything away from this final section, let it be this: never underestimate the impact of small daily choices. Sometimes it's not about a major diet overhaul, it's about adjusting how we handle the food we already love. And with just a little mindfulness, you can protect your body, your brain, and your vitality, starting with something as simple as a bowl of rice. After exploring all 9 of these surprising everyday foods, I hope you're feeling more empowered, not overwhelmed. Because this video wasn't made to scare you. It was made to wake you up, gently, with care. See, what we often overlook isn't just what we eat, but how we eat it, how we store it, reheat it, and treat it after it leaves the stove. Whether it's spinach, quietly transforming into a source of harmful nitrates, or something as simple as rice, potentially harboring toxins, these aren't urban myths. They're backed by science and real-life stories, like Linda's, that remind us how important mindful eating truly is, especially as we age. If you're in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, your body has already worked hard for you for decades. It deserves nourishment, not hidden stressors. And the beauty is, with a few small changes, cooling food quickly, reheating gently, avoiding microwaving certain leftovers, you can avoid these risks and feel noticeably better day to day. Our goal with this video is to offer not just information, but transformation in the small moments that shape your health long term. We want to help you feel more energized, sharper in thought, and more in control of your well-being. So, here's what you can do right now. Hit that subscribe button, because we've got more powerful, life-changing advice just like this in upcoming videos. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a tip that could protect your health. Share this video with someone you care about, a friend, a parent, a sibling, because sometimes the smallest lessons have the biggest impact. And if you're still with us, drop a comment below. I choose better health. That way, we know you're part of this movement, this quiet revolution of smarter, wiser, stronger aging. From our heart to yours, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.